When we were kids, my brother became fascinated by old-school stop-motion animation. In particular, he was an admirer of the work of the Academy Award-winning visual effects artist Ray Harryhausen. So we watched the 1981 version of Clash of the Titans. Oh, I honestly don't even know how many times we watched it. It was so many times, though, that for a long time, my understanding, or my misunderstanding, of the myth of Perseus and Medusa was based on the simplistic portrayal of it in Clash of the Titans. That simplistic portrayal was basically, Perseus was a hero, Medusa was a monster. Perseus needed Medusa's head to use as a weapon against a sea monster, so it was perfectly fine for him to cut it off. However, when we read the ancient myths themselves, especially the Roman poet Ovid's version in his Metamorphoses, it is not at all as simple as Clash of the Titans makes it seem. Since I read the excerpt from the Metamorphoses that I have called Medusa was once an exceedingly beautiful maiden when I was in college myself, I've had a difficult time thinking of Medusa as a monster or of Perseus as a hero, especially after I considered the context of that particular excerpt. This is a tale that Perseus, who is about to marry the Ethiopian princess Andromeda, tells at his wedding feast to impress her people? Really? So, in the two class discussions we'll have about the myth of Perseus and Medusa, I'm asking you to carefully consider, or really to reconsider, their roles. Is Perseus a hero? And is Medusa a monster? To provide you with the textual evidence to make those decisions, I have selected 4 excerpts for us to read. Although the excerpt from Metamorphoses by Ovid that I have called Medusa was once an exceedingly beautiful maiden presents the most comprehensive telling of the origin of Medusa, you are also welcome to consider textual evidence in the excerpt from the Library of Apollodorus that I have called With Averted Face He Showed the Gorgon's Head, and all who beheld it were turned to stone, the excerpt from the Shield of Heracles by Hesiod that I have called After him rushed the Gorgons, unapproachable and unspeakable, longing to seize him, or the excerpt from Theogony by Hesiod that I have called Medusa, she who suffered painfully. As optional readings, I have also included links to 2 relatively recent articles that talk about modern reinterpretations of the myth. The Original Nasty Woman by Elizabeth Johnston, and How a Medusa Sculpture from a Decade Ago Became Me Too Art by Julia Jacobs. While I am not requiring you to read these 2 articles, I am recommending them, especially to those of you who have expressed an interest in the myth of Perseus and Medusa. Particularly if you take the time to read those 2 articles, I feel like you will agree that it is not at all as simple as Clash of the Titans makes it seem.